The aliens' laughter filled the grand hall, an unsettling chorus that echoed with condescension. It wasn't the polite chuckles of amusement, nor the reserved snickers of curiosity. It was the full-bodied mirth of those who believed themselves superior. Captain Elias Carter of the Earth Diplomatic Corps stood in the center of the Grand Hall of the Zalari High Council, his arms crossed, his expression schooled into a stoic calm he had perfected over years of interstellar diplomacy. Around him, towering Zalari officials, their bioluminescent skin pulsing in shades of mockery, exchanged glances and mimicked human gestures in exaggerated, condescending ways. One Zalari, a particularly pompous official named Ultha, waved a three-fingered hand at Elias. Humans, so primitive, so limited, Ultha scoffed in a warbling voice that echoed across the chamber. Your species has only just stepped out of its cradle, and yet you dare to negotiate with the ancient Zalari Dominion? Elias glanced at his team, each member representing a critical pillar of their mission. Dr. Amanda Park, the linguist, stood poised with her ever-curious gaze scanning the Zalari. Lieutenant James Orville, always alert, maintained a vigilant stance, his hand resting subtly near his holstered weapon. Dr. Tarek Voss, their cultural expert, observed the alien officials with a keen eye, mentally cataloguing their reactions. They all maintained their professionalism, but Elias could see the tension in their eyes. The Zalari had dismissed every proposal Earth brought to the table, ridiculing their attempts at diplomacy. It had been a long, humiliating day, and Elias had a feeling the aliens weren't done yet. Ultha leaned in, his shimmering eyes narrowing, his expression a mask of contempt and intrigue. We have existed for 10,000 of your years, expanding, dominating, ruling the stars. Your kind. Mere children playing with fire. Your languages are simplistic, your technology, laughable. Amanda stiffened beside Elias. Captain, they're underestimating us. If they won't take our diplomatic protocols seriously, perhaps we should take a different approach. Elias nodded subtly. He had an ace up his sleeve, one he had been saving for the right moment. The Zalari believed humans were harmless, unworthy of respect, but they hadn't seen the full extent of humanity's ingenuity yet. I understand your skepticism, Elias said smoothly, meeting Ultha's gaze. After all, language is the foundation of understanding, isn't it? But, tell me, does the Dominion remember all its roots? Even those long buried? Ultha's amusement faltered for the briefest moment, but it was enough for Elias to press forward. You claim to have existed for 10,000 years, Elias continued, his voice steady, calculated. Civilizations change, tongues fade into obscurity, and wisdom slips through the cracks of time. How much of your own history have you forgotten? The hall grew quieter, save for the ambient hum of Zalari bioluminescence flickering across their bodies. Elias exchanged a glance with Amanda, who opened her datapad and tapped a few keys. This, Elias said, turning slightly to Amanda, is something your people left behind long ago. He motioned for her to begin. Amanda took a breath and began speaking in a guttural, rhythmic language that rolled off her tongue with a strange fluidity. The sounds echoed through the hall, bouncing off the crystalline walls and drawing gasps from the Zalari. Ultha's eyes widened, his skin shifting erratically from deep blue to a pale, trembling white. Other Zalari officials murmured in confusion and alarm, their expressions shifting from amused superiority to wary disbelief. Impossible. Ultha whispered, stepping back. Where did you learn the dead tongue? Elias suppressed a smirk. We humans have a peculiar talent. When we set our minds to it, we uncover the secrets even the oldest empires forget. Amanda continued, her voice growing in confidence. Your ancestors called it Exane Tovresh, the high speech of kings. It was once used in the grandest courts of your dominion, but it faded into obscurity over millennia. We found it in your ruins, in fragments hidden beneath layers of time and decay. And we learned. The Zalari counselors exchanged frantic looks. This was not the primitive species they had dismissed. No, these humans had delved deep into their past, uncovered knowledge thought lost, and wielded it with precision. Ultha composed himself, but the flickering of his skin betrayed his unease. You cannot possibly understand its true meaning. Elias stepped forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. Try us. The silence hung between them, dense and charged, crackling with unspoken tension. Then, Ultha straightened, his earlier arrogance replaced with wary respect. "Very well, human. You have our attention. Speak your terms." Elias allowed himself a small, satisfied nod. Humanity had just shifted the balance, and the contest was only beginning. Ultha's posture stiffened, his translucent skin flickering through an array of shifting colors, pale blue for caution, streaks of red for agitation. The other Zalari officials murmured amongst themselves, their eyes darting between Elias and Amanda with a mix of confusion and something Elias recognized as a hint of respect. Elias seized the moment, stepping forward with a composed stance, his voice carrying measured authority. "You see, Counselor Ultha, humanity has a unique ability, persistence. When we seek knowledge, we do not stop at the surface. We dig, we learn, we adapt. And now, we speak the language your ancestors left behind. And if we could uncover this, think of what else we might hold within our grasp." Ultha's lipless mouth tightened into a thin line, his gaze narrowing. "And what do you intend to do with this knowledge, human? Knowledge without purpose is nothing but noise." Amanda, emboldened by the reaction, continued speaking in Exane Tovresh, her voice carrying the weight of ancient authority. "Purpose," she said slowly, the alien syllables rolling off her tongue, "is defined by those who wield knowledge with intent. We come not to threaten but to understand and coexist. We have studied your past to forge a future rooted in mutual understanding and progress." The tension in the room shifted, a palpable current rippling through the gathered officials. The Zalari were no longer laughing. Elias could see it in the way their bioluminescence flickered erratically, an unconscious tell of deep contemplation. One of the older counselors, a withered figure adorned with intricate metallic implants, raised a hand. "This cannot be. The dead tongue has been forgotten for millennia. Even our most revered scholars cannot fully decipher its complexities. How is it that your kind, so young, has done what we could not?" Elias's lips curled in a subtle, confident smirk. "We had motivation. Our survival, our place in the cosmos, depends on understanding those who came before us. We may be young, but we are relentless." Ultha cast a wary glance at his peers, their skin flickering in silent debate. "Relentless or reckless? Tell me, human, do you understand what you have awoken? The Exane Tovresh is more than just words, it carries the weight of an empire long past." Amanda didn't flinch. "We understand that history is a double-edged sword. But we are not afraid to wield it wisely." A murmur spread through the council chamber. Elias knew they had struck a nerve. He pressed on. "We have uncovered fragments of your lost archives, records of alliances, of war, of betrayal. We know the Zalari Dominion once ruled through wisdom and strength, but also through fear. That fear still lingers in your hearts, doesn't it?" Ultha's skin pulsed a deep violet, a sign of discomfort. "What do you want, human?" he asked, his voice quieter now, lacking the earlier mockery. Elias stepped forward, meeting the alien's gaze. "We want a seat at the table. Humanity is no longer an outsider. We have proven our capability and our dedication. We offer cooperation, trade, and shared knowledge." He paused, letting the gravity of his words settle. "Or, if you prefer, competition." The chamber fell into an uneasy silence. The challenge was clear. Humanity would no longer be dismissed or underestimated. The older counselor spoke again, his voice measured. "If we accept your proposal, human, understand this knowledge is not without cost. The Zalari do not give freely. What can you offer in return?" Amanda smiled, tapping her datapad. "We have more than just language. We have deciphered your ancient technologies, your forgotten arts. Perhaps it's time we exchanged legacies." Ultha studied Elias for a long moment, his eyes narrowing. "You ask much, Earthman. But perhaps, you have earned the right to be heard." Elias allowed himself a slow breath. "Then let us begin." The council chamber hummed with tension as the Zalari officials exchanged uneasy glances, their bioluminescence flickering in uncertain hues. Elias sensed the weight of the moment but held his ground, unwavering. Humanity had made its move, and now it was time to see if the Zalari would respond in kind. Ultha's eyes narrowed further, his pale blue skin shifting to a mottled green, signaling his deliberation. "You speak with boldness, Earthman," he finally said, his voice carefully measured. "But boldness alone does not guarantee survival. The ancient words you wield carry power beyond your comprehension. Are you prepared to face the consequences of your curiosity?" Elias didn't flinch. "We do not shy away from consequences, Counselor. We embrace them, learn from them, and use them to move forward. Knowledge is power, but it's also responsibility. Humanity understands that balance." A low murmur rippled through the Zari officials. One of them, a younger figure with glistening silver implants embedded in his translucent skin, stepped forward hesitantly. "Captain Carter," he began, his voice cautious, "if the humans have truly deciphered the Exane Tovresh, then perhaps they are not as naive as we believed. But knowledge without wisdom can be dangerous." Elias turned to Amanda, who met his gaze with a nod. She stepped forward and spoke again in the ancient tongue, her voice resonating through the hall with a deliberate cadence. "Wisdom is earned through trial. You once understood this, before the comfort of your dominion led to stagnation." The council chamber fell into stunned silence. Ultha's skin flickered violently, his agitation unmistakable. "Enough," he bellowed, his voice carrying an undertone of alarm. "You think yourselves scholars of our history, but you cannot fathom the burdens we have carried. The wars, the losses, the secrets we buried to protect ourselves." Elias took a calculated step forward, his voice unwavering. "Then why bury them, Counselor? If those lessons were so vital, why let them be forgotten? Perhaps you feared them, or perhaps you feared what others might do with them." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The Zari, beings of control and calculated restraint, were not used to being challenged so directly. Ultha's gaze drilled into Elias, but behind the anger lurked something deeper, fear. Before Ultha could respond, the older counselor who had spoken earlier raised a hand. "We have a choice before us," he said, his voice grave. "We can dismiss humanity as reckless and risk what they might uncover without our guidance, or we can guide them and reclaim what was lost, together." Ultha's form stiffened, his bioluminescence pulsing in chaotic rhythms. "And if they betray us? If they seek to use our past against us?" Elias smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Then you have nothing to fear, because history has already taught you how to deal with betrayal, hasn't it?" The silence grew dense, the shifting balance of power palpable in the room. The Zari were no longer looking down upon them, they were seeing humanity as equals if not potential rivals. Elias could almost hear the gears turning in their minds, considering the possibilities, weighing the risks. Ultha released a measured breath, his tension visibly easing. "Very well, Earthman. We will grant you access to our restricted archives. But know this, once you enter, there is no turning back. What you uncover could change the fate of both our civilizations." Elias inclined his head. "We accept the challenge. Together, we will face whatever truths await us." Amanda and the team shared a glance, their determination silently strengthening. They had won the right to knowledge, but the real battle was just beginning. The council chamber doors rumbled open to reveal shadowed corridors, and Elias stepped forward, fully aware that humanity had passed the point of no return. Elias stepped into the dim corridor, where the ancient Zari script pulsed with a soft, ethereal glow, casting shifting shadows along the path ahead. Each step resonated with a heavy significance, and his team followed closely behind, their expressions blending awe and apprehension. Amanda traced the etched walls with her fingertips, feeling the cool texture of the intricate glyphs, her eyes widening in admiration. "It's more than a language," she whispered. "It's a roadmap. A guide left behind by their ancestors." Walking beside Elias, Ultha cast a wary glance at the humans, his cautious gaze lingering longer than before. "You tread dangerous ground, Earthman. Our ancestors locked away knowledge for a reason. Some things are meant to remain buried." Elias nodded and continued. "Humanity thrives by learning from the past, Ultha. We use it to forge a better future. Ignorance has never protected anyone." As they moved deeper into the archives, the air grew colder, charged with an eerie hum that resonated in their bones. Amanda stopped suddenly, staring at a towering obelisk of pulsating crystal. Data streamed across its surface, revealing fragmented images, ancient battles, treaties forged and broken, and glimpses of a civilization teetering on the edge of collapse. Ultha's skin flared in patterns of anguish and shame. The Zalari Dominion was not always wise. We sought power beyond our means and paid the price. You see only fragments, but the whole truth, it is heavier than you can imagine. Elias placed a hand on the obelisk, feeling the pulse of centuries beneath his fingertips. Every civilization has its failures. What matters is what you do with them. The question isn't whether the Zalari made mistakes, it's whether you're willing to learn from them. A heavy silence fell between them, thick with unspoken understanding. Then, with a deep exhale, Ultha turned to face the gathered council members who had followed them inside. The humans have seen our past, and they do not turn away in fear. Perhaps we should not either. Amanda took a confident step forward, her smile unwavering. We don't have to repeat history, Ultha. Together, we can create something better. For the first time, Elias saw something resembling hope in the Zalari's expressions. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As they exited the archives, the council reconvened in the Grand Chamber. Ultha addressed his peers with a newfound humility. We stand at the crossroads of our past and future. Humanity has shown us that our history, no matter how painful, is not a weakness but a foundation upon which we can rebuild. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady. The future isn't written yet. We propose a partnership, one built on transparency and mutual growth. We will share our knowledge, and in return, we ask only for the opportunity to learn from yours. The council deliberated in hushed tones, but Elias could see the change in their demeanor. The arrogance was gone, replaced by contemplation and the first inklings of trust. The elder counselor raised his hand at last. Earthman, you have shown us much. Let us see what future we can create together. Relief flooded Elias's chest. They had done it. Humanity had stepped beyond the barriers of misunderstanding and into a new era of cooperation. As they left the chamber, Amanda glanced at Elias. Do you think they'll hold up their end? Elias smiled faintly. Trust is built over time, and today's step was only the beginning of a much larger journey. And with that, they walked forward, humans and Zalari, into a future where the mistakes of the past would not define them, but guide them toward something greater. Moral of the story: true progress comes from facing the past, learning from mistakes, and embracing the unknown with resolve. True progress is built on understanding, not fear.